Hi, Juno News. Alexander Brown here, host of Not Sorry. Great to be back this week. And thank you to Chris Sims for covering for me last week. She's the best. Those are two terrific episodes. Highly recommend you check them out. I'm the director of the National Citizens Coalition. I'm a writer, I'm a campaigner. I'm thrilled to be a part of the Juno family, and it's been great to get to know this audience. And while I have you here and while we're getting started, I want you to take advantage of our promo code. Go to junonews.com/not sorry for 20% off. That's a great offer. Worth celebrating. What's not worth celebrating is over the weekend, Justin Trudeau's former MPs, Justin Trudeau's former associates, they decided to, I think to some of you, sort of twist the knife a little bit. They held this anniversary party, this 10-year anniversary of his 2015 election victory. Were you sharing in the merriment? Do you feel better off than you did 10 years ago? I know that I don't. I look at these tweets talking about the energy, the optimism, and the belief that together we could build a better future. And I think of a decade later and where we are, and it's nowhere good. I think it was Brian Blyther on X made a joke after Karina Gould put up her "Isn't this great?" Anniversary tweet saying, "Imagine celebrating what your government did to Canada the last 10 years, and being so proud of it, you turn off the comments." This was decline. This was nothing good. As Sean Spear posted on X on Monday morning, real inflation adjusted GDP per person over the past 25 years, look how bad this is. In a nutshell, Canadians are poorer in June 2025, as of June 2025, than they were in April 2017. So, referencing all the metrics, that are worse, you have obviously immigration. You have Canadians' feelings about immigration. You have the housing situation. You have crime and chaos. It's all been going in the wrong direction. And so not a day we're celebrating, not an occasion we're celebrating. And in so many ways, when we look at the virtues that were signaled, the only thing that government could point to, and hopefully this slightly different iteration of the Liberals get it together, we're seeing sort of end stage Trudeau wokeness, where there's been great reporting in Juno News about this recently, where this decision in Cowichan, which is Richmond, British Columbia, is threatening private property rights because these treaties, they were never resolved. There's now Aboriginal title that may lord over these hundreds of homeowners. The government is sending out letters to concerned homeowners saying, we need to get together and talk about this. Well, then resolve it, and soon. Much like the need to get major projects built and to blow through a guy like David Eby, who doesn't want an Alberta pipeline to the Pacific Northwest coast, we're just going to further chill investment. We're just going to further chill confidence, and we need a climate that actually gets anything done. These private property rights are a pillar of Western civilization. Letting businesses be businesses is a pillar of Western civilization. In Canada, we still aren't getting that right. This 10 years removed from a night that will live in infamy, we have very little to be proud of, but we can be so much more. Join Peter Coleman and I for this chat. Peter is the president of the National Citizens Coalition. He's running a terrific Fix Canada campaign right now. And then before we get started, a word from our sponsor.
I want to give a quick word from our sponsor, Albertans Against No Fault Insurance. So, did you know that the Alberta government is overhauling its auto insurance system under a new model called Care First, coming into effect in 2027? Most Albertans injured in car accidents will no longer be able to sue the at-fault driver. Instead, decisions about your care and compensation will be made by the insurance company, not your doctor, not the courts. Critics say this system puts insurance companies first and removes key rights from victims and their families.
Peter Coleman joins the show. Peter is the president of the National Citizens Coalition, longtime leader in the small c conservative space. Peter, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on, Alex.
Now, Peter, this is evidently a celebratory anniversary for some in the Liberal Party of Canada. We're talking today about how over the weekend, as if they're twisting the knife for all the people who are struggling right now, Justin Trudeau and Trudeau's Former associates and campaigners celebrated that 10 years ago today, as he put in a tweet, Canadians chose a more hopeful path, and that he'll never forget that night in 2015, the energy, the optimism, and the belief that together we could build a better future. As we know, they didn't build a better future. Almost every key metric is heading in the wrong direction. Adjusting by things like real inflation adjusted GDP per person. Canadians are poorer in June 2025, as of June 2025, than they were in April 2017. What do you make of this celebration, and is it worth really celebrating?
Well, it's gaslighting to the extreme. It's like sunny ways, maybe for Trudeau and the
Yeah,
flunkies around him, but the country's way worse off. And it's sad because on an international stage, we used to be respected. We're not anymore. And the problem is our allies don't trust us. We're not involved in any of the major conversations anymore because they can't be trusted. And the problem, Carney's continued on, but for Justin Trudeau to say that the middle class is better off, if there was a gold medal for DEI hires that proven wrong, and the Peter principle of a guy getting promoted to the highest level of leadership in the land, it's Trudeau.
yeah.
Incredibly incompetent, accomplished nothing other than maybe DEI, gender equality, which I think is important, and climate change nonsense to the detriment of growing the economy. So we need to get away from that back to a common sense thing. And it's just astounding that Trudeau would actually say that, but it's not surprising. That's how he led. He didn't listen to anybody but himself. I mean, inside his own party, he was seen as somebody that would not talk to his caucus,
Yeah.
not talk to his MPs. The PMO's office, Katie Telford, they ran the show there, and it shows. Incompetent people, not very good people in any positions. And I don't like to say that. It's just the truth.
No, you want to say nice things about your prime minister, right? Like, you and I have
Yes.
spoken here before about how we'd like to be proven wrong, for example, by the Mark Carney start. Like we want Canada to be successful. It's why we all do what we do. You're trying to drive opinion, and you're trying to make a difference in the polls and at the ballot box, and to lead the horse to water. But this liberal horse, it ain't drinking. Things still don't look good, and in some ways we're seeing the end stage result of this night they believe is worth celebrating from 2015, where I think of recently this Cowichan decision in Richmond, British Columbia, where you now have Canadians in Richmond who are worried about losing, the
Yeah.
very land underneath their feet, losing the deed to their homes. And it all started somewhere. It started with this virtue signaling. It started with creating these preferred hierarchies of people based on these kind of virtue signaling efforts, and look where it's gotten us.
Well, like a real leader, like Carney won because he was seen as a guy that could deal with Trump.
Yeah,
Nobody can deal with Trump. That's been proven. We knew that before the election.
yeah,
And he was also seen as being a leader. A leader makes tough decisions. A leader would have gone to this, put a brief in towards the Supreme Court and a decision in Richmond, BC, as far as the land ownership, and said, enough's enough. But he's not a leader. I mean, you can be the head of the Bank of Canada, the Bank of England. It doesn't mean you're the right guy to run an economy. It doesn't mean he's never ran a business. He's never been involved with that. He seems reluctant to make tough decisions. And it's hurting us. And the problem he has is he has all the same bozos around him that he's in his cabinet that cause the problems that Trudeau's so proud of. And it's until we see a direction that's more positive, I think we're in trouble. We need to grow the economy by investing in projects, but you got to create the economic environment, Alex,
yeah.
to invest. And we don't have that now. And Carney, over half a year in, is showing no signs, which to me is the most shocking part. He knows how bad the books are. He knows how much trouble we're in financially. And he's just not doing anything other than talking and putting out press releases.
No, and they know how bad it is that they're attempting to sort of split the way they sort of sort and describe the finances, which is strikes me as incredibly dishonest. Like it's this big pile of money that we owe, or it's not.
If you want to take care of the poor people and the homeless that we certainly need to take care of, you got to create the wealth to do that.
Yeah,
And I'm a chartered accountant by training, so I know what those deficits do. Interest, the debt on the debt, the interest on the deficit and the accumulated debt is going to crowd out investments in areas like healthcare and other things. How the hell does Carney think he's going to pay $100 billion a year for the military? Where's that money
Yeah.
coming from? Like
Yeah.
the military needs to be set up and to move forward, but you have to create money. You can't just borrow everything.
And we had the interim PBO using language that like I don't recall ever seeing, like hyperbolic language such as, this is over, and this is stupefying and unsustainable. Surely, that shows you the extent of the alarm here. That we're so many months in, we've had all these bold proclamations of being different, but we are not seeing meaningful corrections to the economy and getting out of the way on anti-resource legislation. We're not seeing stern commitments to fixing immigration, where their so-called immigration plan, is supposedly just a few weeks away. But there are warning signs here and signals that the business lobby, a liberal-friendly business lobby, is again going to be calling the shots here over the need of young Canadians. This housing plan, as we know, is just these Khrushchevkas, these Carney portables that you have people who are, gee, go raise a family in auxiliary housing unit number 73. Doesn't inspire a lot of confidence.
No, and if Carney wanted to enrich his buddies at Brookfield, he's doing a heck of a job with that. It seems the tentacles from that company seem to go everywhere that Carney's involved with. I mean,
Yeah.
he should be more worried about the younger people, the middle class, and creating the jobs. I mean, a tough politician, in my view, would say, I don't care if you reelect me. I'm going to do
Yeah.
what's right for the people, maybe not for my party. But if they do that, they will get their mandate back for another term. He's not
Yeah.
tackling, as you said, immigrations is a joke, how out of control that is. The free speech threats are crazy. Um, the budget stuff is the PBO thing. That's astounding, that kind of conversation, because they don't usually talk in those terms. They're reluctant to get involved in the political fray, but he's just doing his job, and it's refreshing to see. But like we need more Juno news. We need more Juno media people, because
Yeah.
the old legacy media is so uncurious, so in the can for the liberals, and it's to the detriment. And I would say that, Alex, it was a conservative in power and they're behaving the same way. I mean, I'm a fiscally conservative guy with a big social conscience, but you got to create the economic growth and wealth to take care of all the needs of people that deserve to be taken care of. And they're falling by the wayside now. And there's nothing that they're doing right now. You go, oh, that's a good one. Like, I wish we were not having this conversation.
Yeah. No, this is a moment for the independents and the big tent stuff. Because we are being forced to have these conversations where you're being told one thing, but the metrics all are still heading in non-favorable directions. I think of your work right now as president of the National Citizens Coalition, where I'm thankful to serve as your director, and the Fix Canada campaign. I mean, what that one's doing big numbers. There's obviously a ton of engagement on the small C side of things. Tell me a little bit more about that Fix Canada campaign and the kinds of large scale engagements you're seeing at the moment.
Well, we started the Fix Canada campaign, and people can find out by going to nationalcitizens.ca. It has over 2 million views, and we started it to try and bring some common sense back into the conversation.
Yeah.
I know that the politicians and the media and stuff will take runs a group like us, but we've been around for over 60 years, so we can handle that stuff. I just wish that more people or more groups like would be like us and say, we just want what's better for the country. I
Yep.
don't really care who's in power. I just want them to do a good job, and that's why the Fix Canada campaign has been so successful. We're reaching a lot of new people that didn't give us a look before, but they are now, because they're looking for common sense going forward. And they step out their door every day, or they take their kids to school or do whatever. They're having a tough time making ends meet. They don't feel safe. Immigration's out of control. Free speech is under threat. They're having a tough time balancing their books, the middle class, contrary to what so-called King Trudeau has to say, and it needs to shift, and that's what we're trying to do in a calm, rational, not angry tone, because sometimes that comes across with Polyev and his team, Polyev especially, where he's a little too aggressive in the language. We're trying to have a common sense conversation with average, hardworking Canadians that feel left out and left behind.
So, what would your suggestion be then, to pull on that thread in regards to how uh, Polyev communicates with the public? And I suppose the suggestion would be there's a segment of the Canadian electorate that maybe startles easy or responds more favorably to a kind of tone.
I think the Conservatives need to show their team. Their team is much more capable than the Liberal team. The people around Polyev are very bright people.
Right.
We had this conversation before. Some people found Polyev lacking as far as being too aggressive and things like that, and that might have cost him, along with Trump, the election. So, show your team, show your policies, try and have a little fun with the process by just be able to joke and laugh once in a while about serious issues, but be able to
Yeah.
talk about them, but don't be that tack dog at all times. Because people, I don't know, people right now are afraid. They're worried about their livelihood. They're worried about their kids. They're worried about their grandkids. They're worried about the country. And you just need to give people a sense that you're that calm, rational, let's get stuff done kind of guy. And I think that messaging can improve a bit still, Alex.
It strikes me as unfortunate that Canada is in such dire need of reform as a
Hmm.
younger guy, increasingly less young. I needed to change on so many files, from housing to immigration to just last night. My wife and I were watching the ball game, and we're taping this on Monday, so go Blue Jays and hope for the
You
best
bet.
there. But there's a guy out back in our alleyway, nice neighborhood, just committing crime, and we call the cops, and he's long gone by the time they show up, and you're just sort of supposed to accept that, and to accept that level of decline constantly, to leave your house every day and see that things aren't getting better, like visibly not getting better. That's powerful, but there's a version of our Canadian electorate, seemingly, where it's that reform startles them and tone startles them. And so if you want to be a reformer, you have to wear a more stately cap at times. Is that what you're sort of suggesting?
Yeah, I think so. Because I think you have to go to where the people are and deal with their needs in a calm,
Yeah.
kind of quiet, rational way.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be all screaming and yelling, and because it just doesn't work. Like, my wife and I have three kids and five grandkids, and I know how you deal with people is not to yell at them all the time. It's not to praise them all the time, but it sure as heck isn't to yell at them all the time because you get
Right.
tuned out. And I think you have to deal with in a calm, respectful, responsible way. And I think that's where he needs to show the broader tent. I mean, Michelle Rempels and the people, other people around in that party are very capable people. They're very good on their feet. They should be doing more CBC interviews if they're allowed to go on the show, which I'm not even sure they are anymore after the recent revelations there. But we need to get the message out in a calm way that we're actually normal people. We just want better. We don't believe in your views, but the conservatives will engage people that don't agree with them. The liberals won't, and that's the problem we're having right now too. Because Carney thinks he's the smartest guy in the room, but if you're not a dyed-in-the-wool liberal right now, there's zero chance you can give him a passing grade in what he's done.
Yeah, and I think of that unfortunate sort of aspersion where criticism is seen as radical or uncouth or we're yobs or something like that. I obviously
Mhm.
think of the work the NCC has done in holding the Ontario government to account, let's say, and how
Sure.
efforts like Project Ontario have been met with name calling,
Yeah.
and surely there's got to be a better way to just accept criticism. It's supposed to be part of government that if you dish it out, you can take it, right?
Why can't a politician in this country say, you know what, Alex, that's a good idea. I'm going to do that. I'm going to
Yeah,
use some of my political capital, and I'm going to get that bill passed right away.
yeah,
Whether it's justice, whether it's caps on immigration actually work and make sense, but just do some things that actually make sense. I mean, they're down in the states. They're laughing about this King Trump. What do we think's going on in this country too? I mean,
yeah.
Trudeau governed like a total dictator. Carney doesn't seem a whole hell of a lot better. He seems to be going on a plane to see all his pals over in Europe versus doing anything. I mean, we're not dealing with the U.S. file very well. I know Trump's a prickly guy to deal with, but we need to have some wins, Alex. And we're far enough in that there should be some wins by now that people could say, "Oh, this tone's a bit different from Trudeau." But I don't know. Maybe you see it, but I'm not sure your listeners or I see it at all. I don't know.
It's such a shame that Canadians, modern whatever's going on in modern Canada. It's like we're better at protesting foreign issues than we are at handling domestic issues.
Yeah, yeah,
The grandparents in Victoria will turn out for a No Kings rally, but they won't turn out to, support young Canadians who can't afford housing or to get
yeah.
immigration numbers back in line.
Because that's the liberal voting bloc is the boomers. Like I know we in our last election campaign we fought valiantly to support the younger generation and to tell the boomers to wise up because their kids are being affected by
You
it
put
too.
out
And
a great boomer ad too, and it was
yep,
very much geared at this is like a civic duty. It wasn't the conservatives
no,
seemed to pivot late. They made that golf ad real late in the game.
yeah, yeah, and I think there's a way to have a sense of humor in some of these issues and get across that the average, there's probably a 5% swing vote that all it would take right now, Alex, to get the conservatives back in power. But
Yeah.
the conservatives, this is their last kick at it with the leader they got, in my view. And if he doesn't win next time, then the party should replace him. I have a lot of time for Paul Hibb. I think he's done a decent job in the party and where the party has grown and the outreach and everything and the seats and ridings never won before. But he needs to take the next step now. And that's what we're wanting to see, show some calm, rational leadership against Carney, who just doesn't, he's just dismissive of everybody. He doesn't care what anybody thinks from his body language, from his lack of time in the House of Commons, from his travel. A smart guy would be spending a hell of a lot more time in the US getting stuff squared away there than going to Europe and working on trade deals that have no impact in our economy.
No, he sure seems like he's back in just portfolio manager mode,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, those portfolios appear to be abroad. Well, we got a whole lot. If you're under a certain age or in a certain tax bracket, we've got some pretty pressing domestic crises. So, Peter, it is unlike Trudeau and his former staffers and company. This is not an anniversary worth celebrating. But thanks
Nope.
for joining us. Thanks for your work and your leadership at the National Citizens Coalition.
Thanks, Alex. Keep good work up.